So a white guy. And so how the rap influence, right? Where did that start?
Well, look, I grew up on 116th and Riverside Drive in New York City, which is not how most people who grow up on 116th
Ah,
and Riverside Drive in
okay.
New York City talk. I mean, Columbia professor, son of a Columbia professor, living in that Columbia University neighborhood with a mother who was very overprotective. So it was like, don't go north of 120th Street and don't go south of 110. Like I didn't like, I was in high school before I took the subway down to the Village by myself. But I grew up in New York City in the late 80s and early 90s, traveling around New York City. And while I was the least street smart, I mean, I went to a school that still exists, went all the way through high school, then it still exists as a K through 8, St. Hilda's and St. Hugh's school, that was not exactly that rough and tumble. But I mean, I showed up at Swarthmore, but it was an like interracial school. And I showed up at Swarthmore, and suddenly I had street cred, just by virtue,
New York.
just by virtue of being from New York, right? Just by virtue of being from New York, I had street. And during my mother passed my first semester, and I had kind of been into going clubbing and stuff in New York as a senior in high school. The drinking age was kind of more suggested at that point, during a semester off, I remember I was a chaperone on a school trip for my brother who was in 6th grade, and this classmate of his, I think Kendall was his name, was doing the Running Man. I was like, teach me how to do that, because that was like the students at the Black student unit at Swarthmore, like they could do the Running Man, and all I could do was like Eddie Murphy's White Guy dance, the sort of the swinging of the arms like that, and I was like, I need to figure out how to do that. Like, I want to be able to dance at these parties. And he does. And I come back to Swarthmore. I was known as the only white guy at Swarthmore who was able to do the Running Man, which these days is like not that, like, you know, it is now the sort
you had
of
New York, and now you know how to dance, right?
Right. But the Running Man now is like the joke of what, like of the dance of like the 80s or 90s. It's like if you want to like show someone as being hopelessly out of touch, it's them doing the Running Man. And I, do that to myself often, but then, and I was, so these guys wanted to start a band, and they were like, Rob, we want you to be the lead singer. And I'm like, I have a hard time keeping a tune. I sung in high school, and I realized like, I need to follow someone else singing. This is going to be problematic. They're like, no, it's okay. You've got the moves. And that should have been a red flag, but it wasn't.